Hello everyone, I'm Alicia. For this tutorial, I'm going to show you guys how to make these beautiful wrap bracelets with Magatamas. So here is a close-up of what the bracelet looks like. It is so cute. I love it so much. The Magatamas, to me, kind of give the wrap bracelet a feathered look because of just how they're sitting on it. They kind of look like feathers. So anyways, turning this bracelet on the side, you could see that the Magatamas are pointing up at an angle just like this. So when you go to wear this bracelet, you always want to make sure that the Magatamas are pointing up when you wear it, so it looks like that. So if I flip this over, the Magatamas are pointing down into my skin, and to me it just does not look right, and it's not as comfortable as it is this way. So whenever you wear it, always make sure that the Magatamas are pointing up because it's more comfortable and it just looks much better that way. Now this bracelet here, I used a button that I already had in my collection. This was given to me by my aunt. And the charm on this, you do not have to add a charm to this bracelet if you don't want to. I only added this charm because I have a bunch of charms and I thought that it really kind of matched my button. The look of it, it looked so similar to my button. So I just love the colors and I thought, oh, I gotta do that charm with this bracelet. So I did it, and I really love the end result. It is so cute. I love it so much. So this one over here, I did antique gold in this one. This one I did antique brass. And this button here is a Terracast button. I bought it at Lima Beads. At the time that I bought it, they were all on sale, all their Terracast findings. So I loaded up on some findings because I really didn't have anything like this, and I adore it. It's so cute. And the back side also has the leaf print, so it's double-sided. So with this one here, I just did these colors. I did a gemstone bead in the center of this. I don't know what the gemstone is called. There was no name on it when I bought it. And I also put a charm on this one, and this charm here I already had in my collection, and it's also antique brass, but I thought it just looked really cute with my button, so I went ahead and used that. So yeah, I really love these. And again, you want to make sure that when you wear this that the Magatamas are pointing up, just like that on your wrist. And these bracelets are so easy to put on because of the button closure. And this is what it looks like closed on the side with my little charm and my clasp. Alright, so now I'm going to give you the list of materials that you will need to make this Magatama wrap bracelet. So if you want to make these wrap bracelets, you will need this bead loom here to make the bracelets. If you don't already have one of these looms, I will leave a link down there in the description bar and I'll show you how I made them. This loom is so easy to make. I made it all by myself, but most of the women that watch my videos have their husbands make it for them, or their dad, or their grandpa, or brother, or whoever they can get to make the loom for them. The loom is so easy to make. Like I said, I did it all by myself. It was so easy. And this loom is awesome because I use it for all of my wrap bracelets. So you're not just making this loom to make this bracelet. You're making this loom so you can make the bracelets that I've done in the past if you haven't seen those videos, and also the bracelets that I will be doing in the future. So this loom is really awesome, and what it does is it keeps our cords tight, and also because I have this wood here, it raises the bracelet up high so we're able to stitch and weave underneath the bracelet. So this loom here serves many purposes, and you can get so many bracelets out of this. So again, if you don't already have this loom, I will leave a link down there in the description bar, and just go ahead and click on that link and you'll see the video on how I made this loom. And again, it is so easy to make. So yeah, check that out. Here is the list of materials you will need to make a Magatama wrap bracelet. You will need 6 feet of 10-pound fireline, and I'm using original, which is black, and I always use the black for wrap bracelets because you always kind of use a dark colored cord. And again, I'm using the 10-pound because it is very strong, and wrap bracelet seems to get more use than just a regular beaded bracelet, so I always use the 10-pound test for the wrap bracelet. You're also going to need 2 size 10 beading needles, and I'm using 30 inches of 2mm leather cord, but if your loom is not exactly the same measurement as mine, basically what you want to do is take your cord, start here, go straight up the loom, wrap it around this hook, come straight back down, and cut your cord down here, and you'll just tie a knot to secure it around the screw. So it doesn't have to be exactly 30 inches, but basically you want it to be enough cord to wrap it around your loom and be able to secure at the bottom so you can work on your bracelet. And again, this is 2mm leather cord. You're also going to need 1 button, and this button here is a Terra cast button. I bought this from Lima Beads too. You'll also need 11 OC beads and 24 to 26 6mm round beads. For a 7.5 inch bracelet, you'll need 24 6mm rounds, and for a 8 inch bracelet, you will need 26 6mm rounds. And if you are interested in this gemstone here, I also bought this gemstone here from Lima Beads. They are called Crazy Lace Agate, and they are a purple color. There's also another one that's a pink color, and I also have that. It's an awesome looking gemstone. I love it. You're also going to need 66 to 72 Magatamas. So for a 7.5 inch bracelet, you'll need 66 Magatamas, and for an 8 inch bracelet, you'll need 72 Magatamas. You're also going to need a charm, but again, that is optional. You do not have to have a charm for this bracelet. But if you do decide that you want a charm, you'll need a split ring to attach the charm to. And its split ring is very secure, so it will not fall off of your bracelet. And something else that you will need, and I already mentioned it, is the bead loom. Now, something else that you could use, it's optional, is glue. And the glue would just be for this last knot right here to keep it from opening up. But I actually don't use the glue because it's kind of a pain in the neck, and I don't want it to be seen, because sometimes if you don't get it just right, it'll ooze out, and it's kind of very noticeable. So what I do is I just hold the leather like this in my hand, and I'll take chain nose pliers and I pull one cord at a time with the chain nose pliers, and this knot gets really tight and rock hard, and it is not gonna come out. So yeah, I actually don't use the glue, but that is something you could do if you feel that it's more secure. You can just use glue for your knot there. So I believe that this is all the materials that you will need for this video. And remember, I always put the material list down there in the description bar below this video so you could see everything that you will need in writing. So yeah, I think this is it. Let's get started. The first thing we have to do is attach our button to our cord. So I have a shank button here, so I'm just going to take my cord, pass it through that hole, put my ends together, and bring this button down to the center of my cord. So my ends are even and my button is down here at the center. So now I'm going to take the cord and I'm going to make it flat just like this between my fingers. I want the cords to be parallel to each other, so side by side, and I'm going to fold it like this into a circle, and then I'm going to pass the button through this loop that I just made, and I'm slowly going to push the knot up towards the button, and I want to make sure that all these cords here are staying side by side and they're not twisting, because I want a nice clean tidy looking knot. Okay, now I do need a little bit of a hole right there, because that's where I'm going to put my hook on my loom through, is that hole right there. Okay, so that looks like just the right size there to me. So now I'm going to pull each one of these cords one at a time. I'm just going to tighten this up, okay? So get it nice and tight because it's in the perfect spot. Okay. So now that I have it exactly the way that I want it to be, I'm ready to attach this to my loom. So to attach this to the loom, I have my hook right here. I'm going to take my hook and I'm going to pass it through this little loop that I have on my leather, just like that. Okay. And I'm going to lay the cords just like this on top of my loom. and I'm going to tie a knot right down here. So make sure those cords are tight. I'm just going to go over and under like that. Bring it down and pull it tight. Okay. And then I'm going to go over and under again, but instead of going this way, I'm going to go up. So I'm going to put these cords a little bit closer so a 6mm bead will sit in there nicely. Make sure this is just right. Over and under. Bring this knot down, and I'm going to tie it on this side of my screw, just like that. Okay, so it's very secure. This is not going to come off. And now we are ready to get our fire line and start weaving up here at the top. So I went ahead and I laid all my beads out, and in the past when I've done wrap bracelets, I've only worked with one thread at a time, and I was doing like a sewing method, the loom method that you would normally do with seed beads. That was the way that I did the wrap bracelets. But for this one, I'm going to do 2 needles, and I'm going to have 1 needle on each side. So what I did is I split my beads up, and I have Magatamas on my left and on my right, and seed beads on my left and my right. And I just have my rounds up here on my right because I am right-handed. So I'll just pick those up on my right and cross through those when the time comes. So the first thing we're going to do, I have my needles. I have 1 needle on each end, and I made sure that my tails are even so we don't run out of thread on one side. And the first thing we're going to do is pick up 1 6mm bead. Now this is probably going to be a little bit hard for me to film because of how I'm set up with my tripod, and this board here is hanging off of my desk. So hopefully this board doesn't go flying and all my beads go everywhere. So the first thing we're going to do is pick up 1 6mm bead, and I'm going to slide that down. I'm going to put my needles together, and I'm going to find the center of my thread with this bead, okay? So just like that. Now this is my center, so I'm going to hold this bead here, and I'm going to take one of my needles, doesn't matter which, okay? Taking one of my needles, holding this as my center, I'm going to take the needle and I'm going to pass under this cord on my right side. I'll zoom into this for you. So I have a thread here that's overlapping this cord, and I'm taking my needle and I'm going through this bead underneath the leather. So I'm going to pull this thread through. Okay, so now you see I have a thread here going around that leather, and I need this bead to be up high. So about right here is where I need it to be at my bracelet. Now I'm going to take my other needle, and right now this thread is laying on the top of my leather, so I'm going to take my other needle and I'm going to pass it through the bottom down here, so underneath the leather cords. Okay, this bead wants to pop out on me. So just like this, I already have a thread that's overlapping this leather. So now I'm taking this needle and I'm going under this leather on this side and under over there. Now I'm going to hold this bead in place and pass through. Okay, so now I have a loop of thread on each side. And what I need to do is make sure that my threads are even, because I don't need one to be like 2 inches longer than the other. I need them to be pretty close in length. Okay. And pulling my arm straight out, they are pretty close. I'm going to go ahead and pull this tight. Okay, and I need this to be up here, and it slid back down on me, so I'm going to pull it up there. And a trick to fix the length of the thread, if one is longer than the other, what you would do is take your needle and you'd pick the sides out, put your 2 fingers into those loops, and try to get your tails to be as close in length as possible. So I'm going to check the length of mine again. Okay, they are pretty close in length, very close. I would say they're less than 1/4 of an inch off. So that's not bad, okay? So this is how I want it to look. My spacing is just right, just like it is on this one. You can't go up too high because it's really not going to let you do it. Now, what I'm going to do, make sure this is straight, is take one of my needles. I'm going to take the one on my right side for now, and I'm going to pass back through this bead, and I'm just going to reinforce the beginning of my bracelet again. So I'm going to pass through this bead with this needle. Okay, I'm going to put this needle in my mat out of the way. Now I'm taking this thread right here and I'm going to do the same thing, passing through the bead on the top of the bead, and I'm pulling it through. Okay, pull this tight. Okay, it looks good. Now I'm going to zoom back out so you could see my beads. Okay, so now what I'm going to do after I put that bead on is I'm going to take my needles and I'm going to pick up 5 seed beads on each needle. So I have 5 on this one. Now I'm going to do 5 on this one. Okay, just like that. Slide that down, slide this one down. I'm going to pick up a 6mm round. I'm going to take my needle, I'll zoom in again so you can see this. I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to go under this cord, but I'm going to go over this cord. So just like this, pass the needle through the bead, hold this in place. I'm going to take the needle on my left, I'm going to go under this cord, through the bead, and over this cord. So now both of my needles on each side are exiting out over top of the cords, but they're coming under the cords. I'm going to pull my threads through. I gotta straighten this up here. Okay, so pull your threads tight, and you might have to work on getting your seed beads to sit just right. So you have to make sure that there's a seed bead butted up against the 6mm on the top there, and also check under the bottom with your fingernails. Just push that under and make sure they are sitting right, and pull this tight. And then once you've done that, we're ready to pick up Magatamas. Now I'm going to pick up 1 seed bead on each needle and my Magatamas. Now I have to pick the Magatamas up a certain way every time. So I'm going to show you. So looking at this, I'm calling this the top of the Magatama, and I'm going to call this the bottom because of how it sits. See how it's like sitting on my thumb and it's pointing up? Like my thumb, it's sitting at the same angle. Here, I'll get another one and pick it up and hold it the same way. So see how on each thumb, how it's sitting at an angle? This is how it has to sit on the bracelet, is like this. There's going to be 3 of them here. And then I'm going to do seed beads and then 3 of them again. So they have to sit like this. So this is the top and this is the top. And I have to go through the top when I pick them up. So sitting them down, I have a seed bead on each needle. And I have to pick them up to the top. So this one here, this is going to the top. This one is going through the bottom, so I have to flip that over and go through it like that. This one here I would be going through the bottom, so I have to flip this one over too. And that's the top there. So I'm going to show you how they're sitting on my needle at this angle that they're sitting at. So when I go to slide them up my needle, they're going to be sitting like this, pointing in that direction, just like they should when I go to string them on. So you don't want them to be pointing in this direction. They need to be pointing down on your bracelet, pointing down like that, okay? So I have a seed bead, my 3 Magatamas, and now I need 1 more seed bead. Now I'm going to go to this needle. I already have 1 seed bead, so I have to pick them up. This one's upside down, this one's right side up, so I'll pass through this one. That one's right side up, and this one's right side up, and then a seed bead, okay? So now both of my needles are filled. You can see how they are sitting on my needles, so when I string them on all the way, I'll go ahead and do it. Slide this down. You can see that they are pointing in the correct position, just like that, okay? Just like it is on my bracelet here. See how they're pointing? Okay. So now that I have that done, I'm going to go ahead and pick up a 6mm round, and I'm going to take my needle and go under this leather cord and over this cord. Then I'm going to pull my needle through a few inches. Now I'm going to take my other needle, go under this cord, through the bead, and over this cord. And I'm going to pull this through. Okay. Pull the Magatamas up. The one that's on the top, I'll zoom in. The one that's on the top always seems to lay on the cord. Just like this. See how it's laying on top of the cord, that first Magatama? Okay, so slide these up so they are touching and pull this tight. Okay, that's how it should look. Now I'm going to zoom back out and pick up some more beads. So every time I do this weave, what I'm doing is the seed beads first, and then Magatamas, and now I'm going to do seed beads again. So exiting out of this 6mm round, make sure that's tight. I'm going to pick up 5 11/0 seed beads on each needle. And I forgot to mention that you can also use 10/0 seed beads for this bracelet. They do not have to be 11/0s. Okay, so I have 5 11/0s each needle. Slide them down. Now I'm going to pick up my round bead. I'm going to take my needle, go under this cord, over that cord, and with my other needle I'll do the opposite. Well, I guess it's not the opposite, it just looks different because it's one on each side. So with my fingers you can actually see it better. I'm going under the cord and over the next one. So under this cord, over this cord, taking my other needle, passing under this cord, through the bead, and over this cord. Just like that. And I'm pulling my thread through. Okay? Now this up here, as you can see, loosened up a bit. So no worries, all I have to do is pull my threads tight. And then I'm going to pull these threads tight down here, like shoelaces. And I'm going to push all these beads up. Okay? So just make sure that your seed bead is touching your 6mm round on the top and on the bottom of your bracelet. Alright? Because we don't need any thread being exposed. So now, what I have to do is pick up 1 11/0 seed bead on each needle, and now my Magatamas, remember I have to pick them up from the top. So this one here is on the top, that one's from the bottom, so I'm going to flip this one over. That's the top. I'm going to go through this one, that's the top, so it looks like that. Then I'm going to pick up another 11/0 just like that, and I'll slide those down. Now over here in my left needle I have 1 seed bead, and now I have to pick up 3 Magatamas, and again I have to pick them up from the top. So this one here, I just went through it through the top. This one will be going upside down through the bottom, so I'm going to flip this one over and go through it this way, and this one here is already on the top. So just like that, I'm going to pick up 1 seed bead and slide them down. And if you want, till you get the hang of how you pick them up, you can slide the Magatamas down every time and make sure that they are pointing in the correct direction, just like they are up here, okay? So they are correct right now. So the next thing I have to do is pick up a 6mm round, And I'm going to take my needle, go under this cord, over this cord, pull it through a few inches. Then I'm going to take my left needle, go under this cord, through my bead, and over top of this cord. Okay? So now I'm going to pull both of these threads and pull them up. Okay, just like this. I'm going to position these Magatamas up here on top of the cord, and I'm going to push the seed bead up against the 6mm down there in the bottom, and I'm going to pull this tight. And I'm going to make sure that these are pushed up, okay? Okay, so once this is laying right, now what I have to do is pick up some more seed beads. I'm going to move my beads closer. Okay. I'm going to do 5 seed beads on each needle. 5, slide them down. On my left needle, I'm going to do 5 too. 5. So slide those down. Now I'm going to pick up a 6mm bead. I'm going to take my needle, my thread's kind of in my way, and I'm going to go under this cord, over this cord, pull this through a couple inches, take my left needle, under this cord, through the bead, over this cord. Okay, so we should have what looks like this. Okay, now I'm pulling these cords through, and I'm sliding this up. And again, this is just a little loose up there, so I'm going to tighten that up, and then I'm going to tighten this up. Okay, make sure that my beads are sitting correctly against my 6mm beads. Okay, and pull that tight. And it looks good. So now what I'm going to do is take my needles, and on each needle I need to pick up 1 seed bead and 3 Magatamas. So this one here is pointing up correctly, so I'm going to go through that one. This one's pointing up. This one's upside down, so I'm flipping that one over. And then I have my seed bead. So I have this, so I'm going to go ahead and slide that down. Now over here I already have 1 seed bead, so I'm going to go ahead and pick up my 3 Magatamas. This one's pointing right side up. This one's upside down, so I'm going to flip it. This one's upside down, I'll flip that one. And then I need a seed bead. So that's what it looks on this side. Now I'm going to slide those down. And again, I'm going to check and make sure that they are pointing in the right direction, and they are. Okay? So now I'm going to pick up a 6mm round. I'm going to take my needle, go under this cord, over this cord, pass through a few inches, take my left needle, go under this cord, through the bead, and over top of this cord. Okay? Now I'm going to pull my thread through and bring this up. Okay? Make sure that the Magatamas are sitting on top of your cord there, and that your seed beads are touching the 6mm bead underneath. So push them all together. Okay? Everything looks good. So now I'm going to move on. Okay? Straighten out my thread. Now what I'm going to do is pick up 5 seed beads on each needle. So 3, 4, 5. 5 on this side. I'm going to do 5 over here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay? Slide that down. Slide it down over here. I'm going to pick up my 6mm bead. I'm going to go under this cord, over this cord. Pull the thread through. With my left needle, I'm going under the leather cord, through the bead, and over top of this leather cord. Okay, and I'm going to pull all of this through. I'm going to straighten out my seed beads here. Make sure that they are touching the 6mm beads. Okay, and it looks good. So now I can move on. So now I'm going to pick up one 11/0 seed bead on each needle and 3 Magatamas on each needle. So this one is pointing right side up, so I'll pass through that one. This one's right side up, this one's upside down, so I'm going to flip it over and pass through it like that. Now I'm going to pick up an 11/0 seed bead, and I'm going to go to my left needle. I already have an 11/0 seed bead, so I'm going to pick up my Magatamas. This one's up, this one's up, pass through them. This one's upside down, so I'm going to go through the other side. So just like that. And I'm going to pick up a seed bead, and this is what it looks like on my needles. Okay, so again, I'm going to slide this down, and I'm going to make sure that they are sitting right before I go ahead and pick up my 6mm bead and cross through that. So again, check these, and they are sitting correctly. Okay, pull that tight. Picking up my 6mm bead, I'm going to take my needle, go under this cord, over this cord, pull it through a few inches, taking my left needle, going under this cord, through the bead, and over top of the second cord. Now I'm pulling my threads through, and I'm going to take these Magatamas on the top and make sure they are laying on top of that cord. I'm going to push these seed beads down and make sure they are touching the 6mm bead underneath down here. Okay, and I'm just going to pull this tight. Okay, once we have that, I'm going to pick up my seed beads. And right now, this is actually the bottom of the bracelet. So when I get down here and I finish this, we're going to be flipping this over. So when we're working on it, it's laying upside down. So yeah, it's upside down right now. Okay, now I'm going to go to my seed beads. So I'm going to slide this up, take my needles, and I'm going to pick up 5 seed beads on each needle. 3, 4, 5. Slide them down. Pick up a 6mm bead. Go under this cord, over the second one. Taking my left needle, I'm going under this cord, through the bead, and over top of the second cord. Okay. Pulling my thread through, pushing this up, make sure that the seed beads are touching the 6mm beads. Okay, so just like that, and pull it tight. I'm going to do this a few more times because I just want to make sure that those of you that are new to this can understand it, especially since the Magatamas are kind of confusing on which way to pick them up. So I just did my 11/0 seed beads, and now I have to do my Magatamas again. So I'm going to take my needles, and I'm going to pick up one 11/0 seed bead on each needle, and then my Magatamas. So this one's upside down. I'm flipping that over, going through this way. This one's upside down. I'm going to flip it over, go through the top. This one's upside down, flip that over, and I went to the top. Okay, so they are laying just like that on my needle. Now I'm going to pick up one seed bead and slide that down. I'm going to my other needle. I already have one seed bead on it, so I'm going to pick up 3 Magatamas. So I'm going to flip these over and go through the top. So flip that one over, flipping this one over, and this one's right side up, so I'll just pass through that one like that, and I'll pick up one seed bead. Okay, so that's what it looks like on this needle. Again, slide all of these beads down to my bracelet, and you just want to check and make sure that the Magatamas are laying right, and they are. Okay, they're sitting exactly the way they're supposed to be. Pulling this tight, I'm now going to pick up a 6mm bead. I'm going to take my needle, go under the first cord, over the second cord, pull this through a few inches, taking my left needle, going under the first cord, through the bead, and over top of the second cord. And I'm pulling this up. Okay. Again, I have to position these beads. I have to lay the first Magatama on top of the cord, and I have to make sure that the seed bead underneath is touching the 6mm bead. Okay, so go ahead and pull these threads tight. Okay, so it looks just like this. Now I'm going to do the seed beads, and this is the last time I'm going to do the weave. I'm going to pick up 5 seed beads on each needle. So I have 5 on this needle. 2, 3, 4, 5. Okay. Slide them down. Pick up a 6mm bead. Go under the first cord, over the second cord. Take my left needle, go under the first cord, through the bead, and over the second cord, and pull the thread through. Okay, so now I'll just have to fix the seed beads, make sure they are laying properly. Okay, and this is what I have done so far. So keep going, repeating this stitch. And sorry if this video seems long, but for those of you that are beginners, I like to explain everything just in case if you've never done this before. It's really nice for everything to be shown instead of skipping a lot. So I hope that all of you can understand this, and I hope you love this. So keep going, repeating this stitch until you got to the length of the bracelet that you need, and once you get there, I'll show you what to do next. I kept on going, weaving my bracelet until I got to the length I need, and now what I have to do is reinforce this area right here, just like I did at the beginning, to make sure that this is going to stay in place. And then when I get done reinforcing this, I'll get in position to tie my half hitch knots. Okay, so right now I'm exiting out of this bead. Last thing I did was put the 11 seed beads on, and when you start this bracelet, you want to make sure that you start with the 11 seed beads, and also that you end with the 11 seed beads, because it looks just more finished with the 11 seed beads at the beginning and at the end, and instead of having the Magatamas. Okay, so right now I'm exiting out of this bead, and my thread is on the top of this leather cord. I'm going to take my needle, I'm going to do my right one first, and I'm going to pass it under both of the leather cords, just like this. Pull it through. I'm not going to pull it all the way through yet, because I need to make sure it's very tight before I do that. I'm going to take my other needle now, and I'm going to pass it under both leather cords, just like I did on the other side. Okay, I'm going to pull it through. Now before I pull it tight, I'm going to pull this tight, and then I'm going to pull these loops all the way down and make sure that it's snug. Okay, now I reinforced it one time, and I'm going to go ahead and reinforce it a second time. So I'm going to take my needle, exiting out underneath this leather cord. I'm going to go over the top of this leather cord, and what I need to do is exit down here where the 11 seed bead starts, so I could tie my half hitch knots in there. So I'm going to pass through this bead and go out underneath this leather cord. Okay, so pull that through and pull that thread tight. Okay, I'm gonna go back to my other needle, this one here, and I'm going to pass through this bead here, and I'm going over this cord. I'm passing through this bead, and I have to go out through the bottom over here. So push this down and pass out, just like that. Okay, so pulling this all the way through, and then I'm going to pull this tight. Okay, So now we are in position to tie our half hitch knots, but before we do that, we need to take this off the loom. So I'm going to go ahead and take this off the loom. So now I'm going to tie knots in my leather cord, and I'm going to add my charm, and I want to make sure that I add it on the right cord. So this bracelet here, when I go to wear this and fasten the button on it, the heart dangles down like this when it's on my wrist. So I want the key to hang the same way on the bracelet. So I'm going to put it on this cord right here. So this is the top of my bracelet. All my Magatamas are pointing up in that direction. So I'm going to put the key on this cord. Okay. And now I'm going to tie my knot in my leather. So I'm going to do the same thing I did earlier. I put my cords together. I fold it and I keep my cords flat, just like this. Take my tails and I put them through this hole here. Okay. And I'm going to bring my knot down to my beadwork, just like this. Okay. Bring this down. Pull it tight. I'm going to pull the cords individually. And there we go. Okay, it looks good. But I'm still going to pull this pretty tight and make sure it's just right. Okay? Now I'm going to tie another knot over here. And this is the knot that you could put the glue in if you want to, but I'm not worried about doing it. Alright. I'm putting these through. Okay. I need to test this out and make sure that my button is going to pass through this loop I made. And it is. I can actually make the loop just a little bit smaller. So I'm going to pull the knot down in order to make it smaller. Okay, I'm going to try it again. Alright, it's in the perfect spot. Okay. So now I'm going to pull the cords individually, just like that. I'm going to get my chain nose pliers, and this is if you're not doing the glue. If you're doing the glue, you would have put the glue in there while the knot was loose, okay? So again, pulling them individually. I'm going to hold the cords just like this in my hand. I'm going to grab the leather in my chain nose pliers, and I'm going to hold the knot between my fingers, and I'm going to pull this, and it's going to make a really strong, tight knot that won't come undone. Okay? Okay, so now I'm done with these knots, and later on I'll cut these cords, but I'm not worried about it for now. So next thing we have to do is tie our half hitch knots in this bracelet. I'm going to be tying my half hitch knots in the seed beads on both sides and also in between the Magatamas. So right now my thread is exiting right here out of this 6mm bead. What I'm going to do is take my needle and pass through these two 11/0 seed beads, and be careful not to catch your thread on anything because this bracelet is notorious for doing that. So right now I'm sitting here, I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to catch this thread, just the thread that's going through these seed beads, and I'm going to make a loop, and then I'm going to pass through this loop 2 times. Now I'm going to bring this knot down, and I need it to sit right here. So I'm going to pull it tight, and right there is where my knot falls. So I'm going to flip this over, because now I am back here. And what I'm going to do is pass through 2 seed beads, and pull this knot into the next seed bead. Then I'm going to take my needle, and I'm going to make another knot right here. So I'm passing my needle under that thread, I'm making a loop, and now I'm going to go through it 2 times, and I'm going to bring the knot down, and it's going to sit right there. Now I'm going to take my needle and I'm going to pass through this seed bead, pull the knot into that seed bead, and now what I have to do is take my needle, pass through this 6mm bead, and I have to exit out the top over here, and you might have to take your fingernail and push some beads out of your way in order to get it to come out, okay? So right there's my needle coming through the top. I'm pulling this through, and I'm going to turn this around and be very careful that I don't catch anything. Okay, pulling this through. Okay, I'm now over here. So I'm going to go back and tighten that thread up, because that one there looks loose. So I'm still on the same thread. I'm exiting out of this bead now. So what I'm going to do is I'm not going to tie a knot here because it will be seen. So I'm going to pass my needle through this seed bead and through this Magatama, the first one, and I'll tie a half hitch knot right here. Okay? And I'll bring this knot down. Right there it is. So again, I'll pass through this Magatama and I'll tie another knot right here where it won't be seen. So basically what I'm doing is I'm following my old thread paths. So once I go through this Magatama and the seed bead, I'm going to flip this over. I'm going to go through this 6mm bead. So I'll be coming out of this seed bead, going through this seed bead, and where I need to go is through the other side so I could pop up right here and go through these 11 seed beads here. So I'm working my way back through the bracelet going towards the button, because right now we're at the end of the bracelet. So I would just keep going straight up, tying half hitch knots and using up just about all the thread that I can, because the more thread I've noticed that I put into this bracelet, the better it keeps its shape and the Magatamas sit just perfectly. So after you get done tying your half hitch knots on this side and weaving all back through the bracelet, you want to go to the other needle and do the same exact thing. Now here's something that might happen to you. Okay, so let's say that I'm right here, right now, okay? I'm going to go through this bead, this Magatama, and this 11 seed bead. And then I'll go through this 6mm bead. Let's say that I'm not paying attention, and I go through it this way, okay? And I pull my needle all the way out. So I actually need to be on this side. So in order to fix that, all you do is you take your needle and you pass between this weave right here, the 11 seed beads, and between the Magatamas, and you'll come out right here between this crack, and then you can pass with the 11 seed beads and tie your knot. So that's just a little tip in case you get stuck in a little situation like that and you don't know what to do if you come out the wrong side. So keep going, tying your half hitch knots, use up as much thread as you can possibly, and it will just really enforce this bracelet and make it a lot stronger and more durable. And also it makes the Magatamas sit better if it's reinforced. So keep going, repeating these steps, and you'll be done. So I hope you guys enjoyed this video, and I just want to thank all of you guys, because just recently I hit over 100,000 subscribers, and I never, ever thought that over 100,000 people would be interested in my design. So thank you so much for subscribing and watching my videos. So please like this video, leave me a comment, subscribe if you want to get emails for when I upload a new video, and like me on Facebook. And don't forget to share pictures of the jewelry you've made from my videos on my Facebook page. Thank you so much for watching. I love you guys, and I'll be back next time.